You're on.
Good morning. It's Monday, April 2nd. This is Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen meeting. Let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item is public input. Do we have any public input? All right. Seeing none, let's move on to review and approval of minutes. First is Friday, March 9th. Any additions or corrections?
I'm also.
I move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next set is non-public on March 13th.
I have no issues.
I move to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public on March 19th.
I have nothing.
I move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we have
I don't have,
non-public on March 19th.
yeah, I don't have a copy of that. If I can.
You probably sent that over.
I have nothing.
Yeah, I move to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And now we're on to appointments. Mr. Ledoux, are you ready a few minutes early?
Yep, I'll be right there. Take my coat off.
Come on down. Good morning.
Good morning. It's actually snowing outside, so at my house at least.
It's April.
So the reason I asked to talk to you was to bring to your attention something that I think probably you're just not aware of, which is not a criticism, because I assume that you don't spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos yourself, and certainly not the videos of the meetings, since you're in the meetings, so why would you need to? And it's great that that Karen is now uploading the videos, but there's a way to make it even better. The problem is that she's posting the videos in multiple parts, and that's because when you film a long meeting, the video gets broken up into 32-minute long parts. And that's not Joe's fault, that's just the way video cameras work. It's the way my camera works. So, the problem is that it's not a good experience for the people who are watching the videos to have it broken into multiple parts, because particularly on the day when Karen is uploading the videos, like you watch part 1 and then it takes like another hour to get part 2. And so that day, and even sometimes if it's like a 5-part or 6-part video, because if you guys had a really, really long meeting, it might even take 2 days for her to upload all the videos. So the other problem is if it's like a week later and you're watching the video and you're watching part 1, and you get to the end of it, and sometimes it's the middle of a sentence when it stops, because it stops whenever it stops. You have to then go and find part 2 or 3 or whatever the next part is. And that's not always totally easy, because the video, there's the related section, related videos on the side of the page. the next video might be in there, but it might not be. So if it is, you have to find it and click on it. If it's not, you have to go to the channel page and find it in the uploads. So it's just, in some ways it's very easy to do, in other ways it's a blockage towards watching the whole thing. So it dissuades people from, they just say, you know, I'm gonna watch the whole thing. So it's a bad user experience. But the other thing is that it takes up more of Karen's time, because she's uploading a video, and then once it's done, she has to upload the next one. And as I said, sometimes it even takes 2 days. Not always, but so there's a very easy solution, which is she can merge the videos into one video. And this is what I do. I put up my videos, you know, in one part. So you can reduce the 4 or 5 actions that she is taking, upload, and turn it into 2 actions, which is combine the files into one and upload one file. So it's actually going to make it easier for Karen. It's actually better for Karen. It's better use of her time to combine files into one. It's better for the person watching the video, and it's better for Karen. And what I've been doing is I wait for Karen to upload all the videos. Then I download them to my computer, combine them, and upload them to my YouTube channel. My videos have been getting an average, you know, depends on the subject, but 50 to 100 views is sort of typical. The Tuftonboro videos, the Karen uploads, it's more like 10 to 15, 20 views. So only to say that there are some more people out there that could be watching the videos. And this would be a very simple step that would help in that regard. It would make it better for the viewer and make it better for Karen. And it's really easy, and you can use existing software. I don't know what, I know you have Windows on computers, but I'm not sure which, you know, how new it is, but Microsoft has Movie Maker, which is one of their older video editing. So you might have that. The newer one for Windows 10 is actually called Photos, but despite its name, you can edit videos in it. What I use is a program that I paid for, but it was $60, so it's not a big expense, and it's called Video Converter Pro, and it's available from Wondershare.com. But there are many applications out there that could be used to combine multiple videos. Some of them would be full-blown like video editing, which would be way overkill for, you know, just simply combining videos. And so that's the YouTube portion of it, which would just be a simple step that would make it easier for everybody involved. The next thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the website. And you might not know this, but my job is I work for a website. I'm a developer for a website. I work in WordPress, which is an operating system for websites. And Tuftonboro.org, the town website, is run on Drupal. And so Drupal and WordPress are like operating systems for websites, same as Windows or Mac OS. And what Drupal, which runs the town website, that's a content management system, which is basically a blog. And so Drupal could be configured, and not by Karen, but I presume that there's a company that set it up for you that can still do development type things for the website. But it could be set up to automatically post video posts. You can have a video section on the town website, and it can be set up to automatically sort of listen to the YouTube channel, and then the site automatically can post the embedded video to the town website, and then it can also automatically share the link to the town website with the video to Facebook, and also send out an email, the same way when Karen posts an agenda or the minutes, that there's an email that goes out to a mailing list. So this could all be set up that way, and it would all happen totally automatically, so it wouldn't, wouldn't put a burden on Karen after it was set up. It would just be automatic. And so one of the reasons that I think that I get, a little bit more of an audience for my videos is that once I upload them to YouTube, I put them on my website, and then I share that link to Facebook, and it just makes it more obvious to people that it's out there and they can watch it. So again, you can do it manually as well, but it can also be set up through Drupal, through the website, to happen automatically. So once it was set up, it would just run. So all Karen would have to do is upload the one video to YouTube, and that would be it. So I wanted to suggest that would be a possibility that you could pursue.
Sounds like something we gotta look into.
Yeah.
So what is, I don't use the computer that much, but Joe films our meetings.
Yeah. And Joe's
And then
great.
he put-
I love
and
Joe.
then he
Just
put-
want to make sure that.
And then he puts them on public airways somewhere.
Yeah.
or Public access channels. And they're not in segments when they go there. So wouldn't the act from Joe to Karen be the combining to one feature as opposed to Karen having to do that?
Well, I don't want to speak for Joe, and I don't want to criticize Joe, and I'm not criticizing Joe. Just
Feel free, Mayor. I have a couple of words to say because I'm part of this discussion.
okay. I don't know what Joe does for the TV, and that's
Well, that's where most of the people watch it. I mean, you may have 100 people going to your YouTube,
well, I don't know how many people watch.
but I'm
local
sure,
access. Yeah.
all of the comments that I hear are from people watching the local access channel.
Okay.
But maybe that's the crowd I hang with, I don't know. But I'm sure that there are probably an equal number to the people who are watching it on YouTube.
I hope so.
So the fact that only 10 people hit the town website to watch it doesn't surprise me. I mean, obviously you're doing a better job of presenting it than we are. But are the people getting the information? I guess that's fun. But back to the Karen editing or putting this piece together, I think that's between Joe and Karen. And here's Joe.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You may.
Max, on my YouTube, our YouTube,
Yeah.
it's posted in segments, half-hour segments, and I've seen a variation of people going to either one or the other, okay? They're not watching the whole thing.
No. I got
We
that.
had this discussion.
Yeah.
Two, I asked you if you had a video counter on your, because I look at your site also, okay? And do you have a video counter in reference to the stuff that you put up there?
Well, YouTube keeps analytics. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but on your website,
Yeah.
if I go over and say, oh, look, 25 people, look at your website.
Yeah, I have analytics on that I can look at, see how many
You
people-
can look at it.
Yeah, it's not public.
And I didn't see it, so you tell,
Yeah.
you got 50, fine. You want to add up to 5 segments that I have? Oh, maybe I got 40, okay? I don't think it's an inconvenience when people turn on and say, oh, gee, I don't think I want to listen to Lloyd. Oh, look, there's Andy. He's got a gun and he's leaning over the table. And so all of a sudden everybody's, got 14, 15 views on a thing. So they're picking and choosing what they want. Last but not least, I just want to say, we are doing our job and you are doing your job. And it's, again, mostly appreciated. I get the choice. I can go to our website or we can go to your website, and we're encompassing everything, okay? Trying to make it all one, it just gives people the options, okay? And this is all my opinion, okay? I'm not knocking anything down, but as far as joining it, I think I told you before, I like the segments, okay? You got a compression tool, you compress all the things. So if somebody goes and looks at yours, well, I gotta watch the whole thing to find out what's going on. Maybe people don't want it. Okay, they lose the attention span. All right, I said my piece, thank you.
Is there another step? I mean, I think what I'm reading from what you're saying, Max, is that it takes you, I don't know, 4 days to get a meeting all from the town to you, so that you can.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 4 days,
I
but
pick a number. So
Karen's very timely. Also not a criticism of Karen.
I mean, you didn't like waiting for the next segment to arrive, and I don't,
Well, occasionally it will go into the next day.
I can
and
just
that's-
hold off on publishing. I'll wait till they're all up and then I'll hit publish.
Or
And I do
is-
playlists that have them to run continuously after. So-
Is there a better way, is there another option? Let's say Joe's happy with what he's doing, and Karen's happy with what she's doing, but you're a little not so happy about the timing. Is there another,
It's
Publish them.
all I'm saying is Joe's happy with having segments. And your solution here eliminates the segments, so
well,
is there a middle ground?
I mean, certainly people are not watching from start to finish,
I certainly hope not.
but if there's, which is why when I was coming in and taping, I was doing timestamps so people could jump around. That's laborious, so not suggesting that, although that would be cool. People, if there's one video, they can skip around. There's a track bar. You can skip around and you can see what's going on. What was the question?
How do we make your life easier for your website? I guess that was what I'm getting at. Assuming that Joe wants to keep it in segments, and he's our video guy,
Yeah.
is there some operation that Karen can do to make the download easier? Or should she wait a day until she has it all? I guess that's
You can also upload multiple videos at once, so you could put them all on the upload page at once.
I don't know.
But, and just to be clear, I'm not. It's not about making my life easier. I'm trying to just merely suggest a very simple way of getting the whole video up at once.
Okay, well, I think we'll look at it
Yeah.
and conduct a full conversation.
And
Because
I don't know who-
it affects Joe, it affects Karen, it affects
Right. And
others as well, and
I do want to reiterate, it would make Karen's job easier because all she has to do is say there are 4 files. She selects all 4 files. She merely drags and drops them into the converter program, hits convert. It's done. She drags that 1 file, uploads it. That's, like 2 actions as compared to 4 or 5. So, in my opinion, it would make her job easier.
And on the website, is it, Karen, maybe you can answer this question. Is it Tom Arnold, or,
No, that would be our virtual town hall. That is our
so it's
vendor.
a different, he doesn't handle that part?
That's right.
So we don't have a video in the house, okay. But that,
Yeah, and I don't, that whole part, if it were my website in WordPress as opposed to Drupal, I could do that very easily. I'm not as familiar with Drupal, but I know it's possible. But,
Okay.
I don't know what the particulars are.
well, without getting into your job and hitting your income, if you could send an email just describing the process? Because we're just sort of talking about it.
Sure.
I know you don't mind doing that.
Do you have some
So-
notes that you can?
So that we could talk informatively with our.
I'll write an email, yeah.
Okay.
You know, then we know what the questions to ask. When
Sure.
we're talking to our provider.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You know what I'm
in
saying?
terms of the website stuff.
Yeah, just, you're talking Chinese when you're talking to me about this stuff. So if you could just give Karen the questions to ask, I think that would make the process go a lot smoother.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. The other part is, you might want to set up a Tufton Borough Facebook page. You know, I think the fire station and the library already have one. And the website would automatically share to the Facebook page.
Okay.
And that would help get information out there to people. So thank you for your time. And I'm going to leave now.
All right. Thanks, Max.
You're not gonna stick around?
No,
He's gonna watch the video later.
I'm gonna watch the video later.
In 32-minute segments, right?
Yeah.
Or you'll wait till they're all uploaded, and then you can combine them and watch them all at once.
Yeah.
Great.
9 a.m. is not so convenient for me anymore,
Yeah,
but
'cause I will watch the video, because when we do the Selectmen's update, I'm gonna talk about it. Only when we've got a situation brewing with Wolfboro. I would have liked to have talked to Bill prior to Friday's meeting, and I almost didn't pick up the phone. And then it dawned on me that I couldn't do that. And I just wanted to point that out as an instance where the overreach of the current legislation vis-a-vis meetings makes it really difficult
Mhm.
for us to plan, to
Right.
make things happen. So I just wanted to keep you fully informed of that.
okay.
So we met on Friday and got less done than I think we could have gotten done. And now we're gonna meet with Wolfboro today. And it gets protracted, and I think if we could have had a conversation on Thursday, it might have sped it up a bit.
All right. Well.
Okay? So I will say that this will his comments.
Okay. Well.
You've heard it.
I wanna congratulate you on
My good judgment?
your good judgment.
Thank you.
The reward. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Max.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Mr. Ford. Hi, Dave.
Welcome to downtown Tufton Borough.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? Good, how are you? Hello. So, thank you for inviting us here today. I think Selectman Linda is also here, kind of attending, but we had a meeting, Selectmen's meeting, in which we were talking about the RAB site, and some issues. Ken came up, Chip had come ask some good questions, so I had offered to come, as we have done in the past, to give you a project status, so if it's okay, I can start into that, unless you want to start with you, I mean, you're in charge of.
I'd say go ahead, and
Yeah.
get our information updated. I'm sure we'll ask some questions as well.
Okay, so instead of starting with the end, which is the necessity in the eminent domain, what I wanted to go back and give a real brief history of where we are with the project. So I wrote a memo, and I also have a series of maps which will help as we're kind of talking about things. If you have a question, if you're orientated, the one is a detailed color map showing the site, and so one of the statements I said, and it's true, right from the beginning, I think the town of Wolfboro has always taken this issue very seriously, that we have a responsibility not only to the taxpayers of Wolfboro, but to the public in general. We take that very serious. The issue began back in 2005 when the state gave us an administrative order to clean up our effluent disposal, in which we were spraying it in the woods and we were getting runoff, and it was a violation of our groundwater permit. The town moved with action in terms of hiring an engineer, Wright Pierce Engineers, who did a detailed study. They recommend we buy a certain parcel of land, 35 acres. We did so. We rushed under a very tight timeline from DES to design and build the site, so we purchased a 35-acre site from the Whitten Family Trust on a property line, and that's the map I'm showing you here. Kind of shows you the site, and the power line kind of bisects the site. To the right is the town of Wolfboro. To the left, you can see the town line, and the site was permitted and constructed as a groundwater discharge for the treated effluent of the town of Wolfboro's wastewater. We refer to it as a rapid infiltration basin site, RIBs, and the highly treated effluent is pumped up to here. It goes through the ground. The sand is about 50 to 60 feet of unsaturated sand, where it gets further treated, where all the phosphorus is removed. And then it heads down the hill. You see the topo. We're at elevation 660 at the top. Then it starts heading down the hill, and the problem occurs when you get about halfway down the slope towards the 19-mile brook. We have certain areas, we've highlighted them as the central groundwater discharge zone. To the left, we have the western groundwater discharge zone, which is mostly in Tuftonboro and on the Whitten Family Trust property. And to the right, we have the eastern groundwater discharge zone. So in the original engineering and permitting and plans, the intent was the water was going to go in the ground, seep through, get additional treatment, and then leap out through the wetlands and then into the brook, out to 19-mile Bay into Lake Winnipesaukee. Unfortunately, once the project was started up in the April and June of 2009, we experienced problems. We were seeing, it started initially in the central groundwater discharge zone, in which we had breakout of groundwater in areas that weren't anticipated. We had sinkholes, certain areas where the groundwater was moving in excess of the capacity of the land, and it's weakened areas, so we had sinkholes, we had little cracks in the soil, we had some trees tipping over, and we had, most importantly, erosion, soil movement, so that was pretty significant. Right away.
So the underground geology didn't get the memo?
Unfortunately, and we don't want to get too much into our consultant and the mistakes they made, but they told us we had a $1 million site, the gold mine, in fact, that was the words they told the selectmen, because they were blinded by the top of the hill, and didn't realize that when you transition from the really good soil, and it is, nice soil for what we're trying to do, but as it transitions, underneath is ledge, and then as you come down the slope, you start getting into wetland soils. And that's where we ran into problems, and that's where we probably should have done more testing. At a point in the early engineering, permitting, when they saw things that should have alerted us, they withheld that information. They went forward with the project, and we purchased and built, and not until later on do we find out the mistakes that were made. But right away, the thing that's important to note, right away, we notified New Hampshire DES. We tried to reach out to all parties. I think we kept the town of Tuftonboro involved. It was a previous administration that we met with Selectmen and the Conservation Commission. And I think one of the things I said, I want to make sure we understood that this may be the most studied site in the state. I mean, there's a lot of things we started going back to 2010, in which we started issuing yearly reports, which would not only, we looked at what was required by permit, but we went beyond that. The town of Tuftonboro, as you may recall, on their own paid Norman Doe Associates $20,000 to do analysis of the stream prior to us even starting up, so we had a baseline. At the same time, the town said, yeah, let's do a baseline, so we took a lot of sample points along the brook, so we started doing surface water quality before, so we have a good baseline before we started. And then once we had the problems, we said, oh boy, we started to spend a lot of money, and that's what's in here, looking at the surface water, groundwater. We put in groundwater wells, monitoring wells and testing. And so that went on, and again, I listed all the reports on the second page.
Yeah, I mentioned at the meeting the other day that I didn't feel fully informed. Since then, I found all of the reports that you did send
Oh,
out,
okay.
and unfortunately, I've read them, so.
And I don't want to, I mean, am I boring enough with going over the history of this?
No, my fellow selectmen didn't spend the time because I didn't think they needed to, or they made their own choices, but,
Every piece of paper you've written, I've read
okay.
in my term as selectman.
So the reports are here and were shared, but to a certain extent, they just created more questions in my mind.
Sure. So, no, and that's okay, and I just want to, briefly, just so we, to give you that history, then we can go where we are today, and then we can again continue to ask questions, but you want to go back to that. But we did issue these reports through 2015. We also had an independent engineer, Weston Sampson, who was a geotechnical engineer, on site looking, in addition to the other stuff, they were looking at the slope failures to see if it was getting worse, to see what the threats were there, so that went on for 3 years. We still working with Wright Pierce engineers. We hired an independent geotechnical and hydrogeological engineer to do a detailed study of the report that was done in 2011. Then it became evident between 11 and 12 that the responsibility was with the engineer. There was design areas that they withheld information. So we were trying to get them to pay for the fix. They were looking at cheap fixes we didn't think were acceptable. So in the end, we ended up with a lawsuit, and without getting into the details of that, it did take a couple of years. The DES at the time also indicated that because we were being proactive, we were taking steps to mitigate the erosion. We were monitoring, we were doing everything that it was asked of us, and so we think we had stabilized the site. So they backed off, not pushing us until we had resolved the issue with the engineer. That finally got resolved in 2014.
And just run through the facts of that failure. I mean, you prevailed in a lawsuit premised on what?
That they withheld information, they were fraudulently practicing.
But what, I mean, no harm, no foul. If I don't tell you I'm carrying a gun, it's not your problem, but what was the information that they withheld?
So during the analysis, they did a computer model. And in the area here, there wasn't a lot of data, so they had to interpolate between wells. So right now, we've probably tripled the amount of wells that have been there since the original. So for instance, they had a well number 8, and this whole area was kind of, they just interpolated. And then the hydro engineer Smith, when talking to the modeler, said, you do what your models do to make it work. So they actually forced the model to give it positive data so that we would have no questions and get permitted for 600,000 gallons a day. When there was clear evidence that the model was indicating there was problems and we should have stopped and we should have went back and
So they changed the model to make the result what they wanted.
But that didn't change the underlying soil.
correct.